The Riverbed Search. Port Harcourt, Nigeria, 2004. The night after the arrest, Port Harcourt didn't sleep. From Mile 1 to Diobu, people gathered in bars, parlors, and verandas, whispering the same name, Benji the Butcher. Some swore they had eaten his meat before. Others said the voices under the bridge were the souls of those he'd prepared. But inside the police compound at Moscow Road, Detective Michael Owuru wasn't listening to rumors. He had evidence, and too many questions that needed answers before sunrise. By dawn, the bridge area had transformed into a forensic camp. White tents lined the drained riverbed, and men in hazmat suits moved slowly across the mud with markers and scanners. A generator hummed beside them, and the smell, a mix of rot, oil, and stagnant water, hummed like a curse. Owuru stood with Inspector General Tafa and Dr. Adeku Ina, a forensic anthropologist flown in from Abuja. This wasn't a single dumping ground, Adeku said, crouching by the skeleton fragments. He buried them in layers. Different decomposition stages. Different years. Owuru frowned. How far back? At least 8 years. Maybe more. She lifted a bone carefully into a tray. Some of these victims died before 1997. Owuru exhaled slowly. 8 years. That means before Benji even opened his stall. Old cases, new clues. Inside the command tent, files covered the tables, missing persons from Port Harcourt, ABA, Onitsha, even Calabar. Most were dismissed as kidnappings or runaways. But now, they were evidence of something else, something deliberate. Chika Nwosu, who'd been granted limited access for documentation, leafed through a stack of police photos. I remember this girl, he said, pointing. Grace Naji. University student. Went missing in '99. They said she boarded a bike home after night class. Owuru looked closer. Bike? Chika nodded. Near this same bridge. Owuru turned to Musa. Get me the list of every missing Okada rider from 1997 to 2003. The sergeant looked uneasy. That's a long list, sir. Then start reading. The buried trail. By mid-afternoon, more evidence surfaced: necklaces, earrings, phones, and a small box wrapped in plastic. Inside were photographs, dozens of them, stained and faded, showing men and women smiling, posing, living. Some were marked with crude symbols in red ink. Dr. Adeku examined the bones again. These are not random. There are patterns. She pointed to the femurs, each one had a deep notch near the base. Post-mortem marks. Same blade, same hand. His butcher's knife, Owuru muttered. Or something sharper, Adeku replied quietly. The house search. Meanwhile, a separate team searched Benji's rented house on Yuyo Street. Inside, they found a freezer, unplugged but still sealed. When opened, it contained nothing but animal meat, or what looked like animal meat. They also found a handwritten notebook, pages filled with strange drawings of rivers, bodies, and what appeared to be prayers written in a mix of English and Igbo. Water knows. Water takes. Water remembers. She whispers when she's hungry. Each page was dated. The earliest entry. March 1996. Confession in shadows. At the police station, Benji sat in a dim cell, silent. He hadn't asked for food or water. He simply stared at the floor, humming something tuneless. Owuru entered, sitting across from him. Tell me about the tunnel. No response. How long have you been using it? Still silence. Then, in a low, hoarse voice, Benji finally spoke. It was already there before me. Owuru leaned forward. What do you mean? The bridge. The water. The voice. I only listened. Listen to what? Benji smiled faintly. To what they all heard, but I ignored. The river speaks. In Harcourt that evening, a sudden downpour hit Port Harcourt. The officers hurried to cover the exposed evidence, but the water level began rising faster than expected. The pumps couldn't keep up. As the rain intensified, the muddy holes filled again, swallowing the evidence, the markers, and the bones still half exposed. Owuru shouted, "Cover those crates. Don't let them wash out." But in the chaos, a young officer named Simeon slipped near the tunnel entrance. As others rushed to pull him up, he swore he heard something, a whisper, faint but distinct, echoing from inside. "You hear that?" he gasped. The others shook their heads, too busy saving the samples. But Simeon insisted later, trembling. It wasn't the rain. It said, "We are still here." The journalist's night. Chika couldn't sleep that night. He replayed the day's events, the bones, the photos, the words Benji had whispered in custody. He began writing his report, but the rain outside grew heavier, the thunder rolling like distant drums. Then, from his hotel balcony, he saw it, the riverbank lights flickering near the bridge. And beneath the sound of rain, he thought he heard voices. Faint, layered, like echoes underwater. He stood frozen, the hairs on his arms lifting. Then, as suddenly as they came, the voices stopped. Only the steady rush of rain remained. The next morning. By sunrise, the rain had subsided. But when the officers returned to the site, the river had reclaimed everything. The bones, the markers, the mud pits, all gone. Only the bridge stood, old and quiet, as though mocking their effort. Dr. Adaku stared at the water's surface. "Nature has closed her case," she murmured. But Owuru shook his head. "No. We're not done. Not till he tells us why."